Hey everybody, Donna here. Welcome back to my channel. So tonight I am going to light a candle here on my altar that I've set up just to chat with you and show you a deck and weave some stories together. So I've been thinking since last week, a lot about mentors in my life, different people that I've considered a mentor, and the different decks that have mentored me over the last few years. And yeah, and I've spent the last half hour agonizing over which deck I wanted to sit and flip through and chat with you. And at the last second, I've chosen this, the Voyager Tarot. So the Voyager Tarot came into my life, I can't even remember when, but I know it's well over 10 years ago. It's probably more around shortly after. Yeah, no, it was around 2000, like 2001 or 2, I think. And I first laid eyes on this deck out in California at Denise Lynn's house. She is the one who introduced me to the Voyager. I had never heard of it. I'd never seen a collage tarot deck. I didn't know they existed. And I think Voyager was one of the very first in this genre, if I'm correct. And it's still going strong. It's still in print, and its creator, James Wanless, is still teaching all kinds of workshops on reading with this deck and creativity. So yeah, this deck is really, it's been a big part of my life for over 20 years now, and it's kind of guided my path. So since that time, I became just enamored by making collage myself. I started out making kind of the classic vision board style collage, but from there I quickly the whole process sort of morphed into something way more than that for me. So anyway, that's not really the topic I wanted to get into, but this is why it's kind of cool that at the last minute here I thought to grab this deck. So as I chat with you about mentors. So last week, I don't know, something I was talking about in my last video, and I think it was Rachel Pollack. I brought up Rachel Pollack, and it really got me to thinking about how, you know, she was such an incredible mentor for so many people. And not just in the tarot community, but in a couple other communities, in the trans community, as I understand. And she was also a science fiction writer, and I think she was quite well regarded in that community as well. So I just really began to think about that, and she's been on my heart and on my mind for well over a month now, since I heard that she was on hospice care and preparing, you know, preparing for death. And it reminded me last week of one of my great mentors back in my 20s, back in college, one of my professors, Dr. Charles Klein. he was the head of the theater department, and just a very, very dear man, and took me under his wing. Took me under his wing, and in large part, he is the reason why I added on theater as a double major, and stayed an extra year and kind of wove things together, and it was in large part because of him, because of his encouragement, his belief in me. And then I graduated, and the following year, right after I graduated, he died, and he died rather suddenly, and I had moved. I'd left the college town where I was, and I'd gone back home. I was living with my parents, and I got word that he had passed away, and I was just so shocked and just so sad. I just remember feeling so adrift without him. It was just the strangest thing. It's such a strange time anyway in your early 20s when you get out of college and you're trying to figure so many things out, and you want your adult life to immediately start, and it kind of rarely does for most young people. And so I was already adrift, and then suddenly he was no longer there, and I don't know. So I've been thinking about all that, thinking about how hard that was to have to, suddenly imagine myself without this person who had influenced my development in such a strong way, and it was a short amount of time. It was only, a few years, but it already at that point in my life, I could see that he had changed the course of my life dramatically, and I was so grateful for that. And then suddenly he was gone, and he wasn't on the planet, and he wasn't in a body, and I went back for his funeral. I had a beautiful funeral for him on the campus, and his wife was also one of my professors. She was a theater professor as well, and just to see her so distraught, and so many of my theater student, friends and colleagues just grieving, it's very profound. It's always stayed with me. So mentors. Yeah. Where would we be without our mentors, right? And what a gift it is. Not everyone gets to have a mentor. Whether it's whether it's in the form of an educational mentor, or a business or job mentor, or a spiritual mentor. But it is such a gift. And then I began to think about how, in a lot of ways, I think decks can be our mentors. They certainly are for me. I think in large part that's why I've been drawn to so many different decks over this past few years, as I dove deep into tarot and oracle card reading, something that I'd sort of dabbled in for a long time, a couple decades. I had a few decks, and then I'd get one or two more, but I was just sort of, I didn't even know what I was doing with them. I was both drawn to them and a little bit unsure about what I was doing with them, and then I wouldn't really kind of make the time to get to know them, and it was just sort of this funny thing that was part of my whole journey, but that I sort of kept at, I kind of kept at arm's length until about 2018, when a lot of things changed for me quite suddenly. And I began to really own the fact that this is something that I loved, and something that I wanted to learn more about, and I wanted to find ways to incorporate it into my kind of regular life, if not daily, but at least, weekly, to spend time with different decks and explore them. And so, yeah, it's just dawned on me in the last week or so that many of my decks, if not most of them, they are mentors for me. And I think that's why, I think I just said this already, but it's just sort of interesting to ponder how maybe that's part of why we feel we need so many different kinds of decks, right? That it may be that we're, they're acting as inanimate mentors for us in different topics, different genres that we're interested in. And that they teach us, they guide us, they instruct us. So, and many of us, we have all kinds of rituals about how we interact with our decks, right? How we store them and how we take them out and use them. And, it can be, well, we're very reverential, or I am certainly very reverential, and I'm aware there's a long history of wrapping your decks in silk or in, special cloth, or putting them in special bags and not letting them touch the floor, and all of that comes from this belief that they not just hold energy, but they have a consciousness. They have a consciousness of their own that we are trying to honor and really preserve. Keep it as high vibe as we can. This is like why we do all these things and why we clear our decks, right? After we use them. Some of us do, and some of us do it, regularly, and some of us don't, and some of us it varies, but this may be why. It may come out of this sort of knowing, if you will, that there's a sacred teaching process, a sacred exchange going on between us and a deck that we choose to bring into our homes and to, take care of and to use to do readings, to really do deep soul exploration with. I love this card. 7 of Wands. Yeah, there's so many cards in this deck that I love. Yeah, mentors, cards as mentors, decks as mentors. And I guess maybe for some people too, certain systems, certain tarot systems are their mentors. So some people are very devoted to the Rider-Waite-Smith system, and others are Thoth people. And then other people are Tarot de Marseille. That's their system, right? That's the lineage that they follow. And then for other people, it can be, very modern decks that don't really ascribe to, any of those 3 classic systems. So it could be the Marielle. It could be something like the Herb Crafter's Tarot, which is basically a Rider-Waite-Smith clone, I guess. But you know what I'm saying. Like something that goes its own way, has really, is doing something quite new and different. Yeah, Yeah, so what do you guys think? Have you ever thought about it this way, that your decks are really like a mentor to you? Someone you turn to when you need guidance, when you're feeling a little lost or unsure of yourself. I love all these baskets. Here's another one. Oh, this is the Pentacle suit. Yeah, I think there's quite a few baskets in this suit. There's a basket in the background here and here. I love baskets. Weaving, sacred weaving. Yeah, so I'd love to hear your thoughts on this. I'll sit with it some more, see what else comes. Any other stories? I could tell lots of stories about different mentors, but it's nice to connect our, when we can, to connect our mentors with our readings and with different decks, to have decks that remind us of certain special teachers in our lives. So this deck always reminds me of Denise Lynn, who's been a very significant teacher and mentor for me, as do some of her decks that I have as well. So I'm going to play with this more. I'm going to really look at my decks in a new way and see if I can link a few of them to some of my other significant people who've mentored me. Well, that's a fun idea. Maybe I'll find a deck and dedicate it to Dr. Klein, to my theater professor. Wouldn't that be neat? That would be a really fun thing to play with. So maybe I'll report back to you on which deck I choose for that. That'll be really fun. And I have a couple other mentors in mind as well. So yeah, let me know your thoughts. See where this goes. Maybe there'll be a part 2, or mentors of the artists and oracles. We need our mentors, right? We all need our mentors. So that's all. Sending you all love. Take good care. Bye for now.